Thanksgiving was meant to be about gratitude. But as I sat at the head of the table watching my wife Cassandra laugh with her friend Harriet, I felt anything but thankful. The evening had been going well. The warm aroma of turkey and cinnamon, apple pie filled the air, candles flickered against an autumn centerpiece, and conversation flowed easily. And then, Cassandra opened her mouth. "Nothing to be thankful for in bed," she blurted loud enough for everyone to hear. Harriet nearly choked on her wine before laughing, while the rest of the table hesitated in awkward silence. Cassandra smirked, clearly enjoying her own joke. I tightened my grip on my glass, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. This wasn't just another careless remark in private. This was public, deliberate. And I had had enough. I let the evening play out, listening to the forced laughter, the polite attempts to change the subject. Cassandra remained oblivious, sipping wine and basking in the glow of her own amusement. But as I cleared the plates, a decision settled inside me. This wasn't over. Not this time. Later, in the quiet aftermath, I confronted her. "Do you even realize what you said tonight?" I asked. She rolled her eyes. "Oh, come on, Mark. It was just a joke." A joke. That was always her excuse. A way to dismiss, to brush aside, to make me the problem for being too sensitive. But I saw it clearly now. "You do this a lot," I said. "Make me the punchline." She sighed, exasperated. "People laughed. It's not a big deal." "It is to me." She didn't expect me to push back, to stand my ground. Usually, I'd drop it, pretend it didn't sting. But not tonight. Not anymore. Without another word, I turned and left the conversation unfinished. I wasn't angry. I was done. The next morning before dawn, I slipped out of bed, got dressed, and left the house. I drove in silence, gripping the wheel, Cassandra's words still gnawing at me. But I wasn't just reacting to her anymore. I was reclaiming myself. 15 minutes later, I stood outside a gym I hadn't visited in years. The neon sign buzzed softly. 24-hour fitness. I had let myself slip, let Cassandra chip away at me, bit by bit. No more. I renewed my membership, stepped onto the treadmill, and ran. Each stride, each lift of the weights felt like I was taking something back. Halfway through, a familiar voice called my name. "Mark?" I turned to see Troy, an old co-worker, watching me with a knowing smirk. "She still got you on a leash?" he asked, only half joking. I exhaled, rubbing the back of my neck. Not for long. The weight of Cassandra's words and actions over the years finally settled in. Meeting Troy's eyes, I exhaled. "I'm done fading." He studied me before nodding. "Then stop talking and do something." I grinned. "That's the plan." By the time I finished my workout, my muscles ached in a way I hadn't felt in years. A good ache, a reminder that I was capable. The sun was rising as I drove home, golden light stretching across the sky. The house was still quiet. Good. I took a long shower, letting the water wash away the exhaustion, the old version of myself. When I stepped out, I didn't feel drained. I felt recharged. For the first time in a long time, I recognized the man in the mirror, and I was proud of him. Cassandra stumbled into the kitchen later, groggy. "You're up early." I sipped my coffee. "Yeah." Her eyes flicked to my gym bag. "Did you go somewhere?" "Yeah, I did." She expected more, an explanation, the way I always gave one, but I didn't. I just took another sip of coffee and scrolled through my phone. Her frown deepened, but she let it go. For now. She wasn't going to like this new version of me, and I didn't care. Because for the first time, I wasn't living for Cassandra. I was living for me. At work, Jake leaned against my desk, smirking. "You look different." I raised an eyebrow. "Different how?" I don't know. More awake. Didn't see you at lunch yesterday. Figured Cassandra had you on a to-do list. I forced a smile. I used to laugh along. Not today. Had other things to do. Jake studied me, then grinned. Well, damn. You almost sound like a man with a life outside of his wife. I smirked. Maybe I am. That evening, Cassandra barely glanced up from her phone as I walked in. Hey! I placed my keys down and started changing into workout clothes. She finally looked up, frowning. Going somewhere? Yeah. The gym again? She asked, suspicious. I nodded, tying my laces. Since now. She didn't like that answer, her fingers tightening around her phone. She was used to knowing my every move, but I didn't wait for a response. I just walked out. At the gym, Troy smirked as I finished my set. You're serious about this? I exhaled, wiping sweat from my brow. Damn right. So what's the plan? I thought about it. This had started because I was sick of being treated like a joke. But now it was about me. Not sure yet, but I know I'm not going. There it was, that casual cruelty, the way she made my feelings the problem. I set my glass down. Wow. What? I met her eyes, and for the first time saw her exactly as she was. I was never your husband. I was just your favorite punchline. The words landed like a slap. She paled slightly, lips parting, but what could she say? I had swallowed my pride for years, and now, the moment I stopped catering to her, she panicked. I grabbed my gym bag again. Where are you going? She asked, voice tight. I didn't even look at her. Out. She took a step forward. Mark, you can't just... I turned to face her, calm, final. Watch me. And then I walked out. No yelling, no slamming doors, just left. The night air felt different, lighter, or maybe I was. I slid into my car and stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror. The man looking back at me wasn't the same one from a few months ago. My phone buzzed. Cassandra. I didn't need to check the message to know what it said. Where are you? Are you coming back? We need to talk. No. She needed to talk. She needed to figure out how to reel me back in, but for the first time I wasn't interested. For the first time in years, I felt free. I started the car and pulled. Out of the driveway, headlights cutting through the darkness. I wasn't sure where I was going, just that I wasn't staying home. Not tonight. I ended up at Troy's place. He opened the door, beer in hand, surprised but not unwelcome. Didn't think I'd see you again tonight. Didn't feel like going home. That was enough. He handed me a beer. No questions. Asked. We sat in silence watching the game, but I could feel the question lingering. Eventually, he leaned back. You done? I took a sip. I think I've been done for a while. Just didn't want to admit it. Troy nodded like he already knew. So what now? I exhaled. I don't know. And for the first time, that didn't scare me. When I got home, the kitchen light was on. Cassandra sat at the table, wine glass half empty. She looked up as I entered. Where were you? Out. A muscle in her jaw twitched. Are we ever going to have a real conversation, or are you just going to keep walking out on me? I met her gaze. Do you want a real conversation, or do you just want to smooth things over so we can pretend everything's fine? Her eyes flickered. Anger, frustration, panic. You're acting like I'm the bad guy. I let out a humorless laugh. I'm acting like I finally see things for what they are. She stiffened. And what do you see? A woman who belittled her husband, dismissed his feelings, and only cares now because she feels me pulling away. Her lips parted, but no words came. I stepped closer. Tell me, Cassandra, if I had never changed, if I kept letting things slide, would you even be sitting here right now? Silence. Heavy, unspoken truths between us. Her throat bobbed. "Mark, I didn't mean—" "That's the thing," I cut in. "You never mean it." For the first time, she looked nervous. I shook my head. "I don't hate you, Cassandra, but I'm done living like this." She swallowed hard. "You're done?" I nodded. "Yeah." A long pause. Then she let out a breath and stood. "Fine." She walked past me without another word. I didn't stop her. For the first time in years, I felt free. The next morning, the house was silent. Cassandra sat at the kitchen table, scrolling through her phone. I poured coffee, waiting for her to speak. Finally, she did. "So what? You're just done?" I exhaled. "Yeah." She laughed sharply. "Just like that?" "Cassandra, I've been done for a long time. You just never noticed." Her grip tightened on her phone. "That's bull. You never said anything before." I shook my head. "I did. You just didn't listen." Her jaw clenched. "You're really making me the villain here?" I crossed my arms. "The moment I stop tolerating the way you treat me, suddenly I'm the problem? That's exactly why I'm done." She stared, unsteady. I'd always been the one to fix things, but not this time. She swallowed. "Are you leaving?" I didn't answer right away. "I don't know," she scoffed. "You can't just throw this at me and expect me to be okay with it." "You think I'm okay with it?" Her glare wavered. I saw something I hadn't in a long time. Fear. She had always assumed I'd come back, but now she wasn't sure. At work, I felt focused for the first time in years. Jake leaned against my office door. "You good?" "Yeah," he smirked. "Cassandra still freaking out?" I sighed. "She's not handling it well." Jake chuckled. "I bet. Losing control of her favorite punching bag." I didn't laugh. It hit too close to home. He must have noticed. "Seriously, man, I'm glad you're standing up for yourself. It's about time." I nodded. "Yeah, it is." That night, Cassandra had dinner waiting, candles lit, my favorite meal, a glass of wine poured. A grand gesture, an attempt to pull me back in. She gestured to the chair. "Sit." I hesitated, then sat. She X.